So for this project, I'm gonna call this Composition Challenge. You guys are gonna use 4 different media, and you're gonna make a variety of different marks and choose different compositions, smaller compositions, and mount them on a 15-inch by 19-inch railroad board like this one. So I just finished making this one and filming all the parts so that I can edit it and put it together. I'm gonna have to clean up this mess that I have made now. But yeah, this is what the finished image, something similar to this. You're gonna do your own and have your own fabulous mark making, but this is what we're looking to create. And the reason why you're doing it, you're going to develop multiple skills while you do this. So first, you're using 4 different media. So you're gonna be using graphite, you're gonna be using some charcoal, you're gonna be using pen and Sharpie and ink wash. So 4 different media. Because these are completely abstract or non-objective, you're going to be using, you're not going to be like having to think about what to draw. You're just going to be having fun making marks. So you're going to learn different ways to hold the tools, different ways to make marks, and different techniques with those 4 different media. Then you're going to choose compositions. So you're going to hold a viewfinder over and choose squares of different areas that you like and decide which ones look the best to you. And then you're also going to develop some craftsmanship skills. So craftsmanship is when you're making things like nice and neat and careful, and you don't have like glue squeezing out from the edges of your squares. All your squares are nicely, neatly cut. You're gonna learn how to use an X-Acto knife while you're cutting those, and use a ruler. So there's a lot of different skills you're gonna learn while creating this project. So good luck. So the first thing that we're gonna do is make our viewfinder, and this is gonna help us to find some good compositions without kind of being distracted with what's around us. We can hold it over the media papers that we make and just kind of see what compositions we like. So in order to make this, you're gonna need the following things. A piece of thicker paper. I'm using railroad board, and this is 9 inches by 9 inches. You need a pencil. I like having a see-through ruler when I'm actually doing my measuring, and then I like to have a metal ruler. It doesn't matter if it has any kind of inches or markings on it, to use for my cutting. And then you need a box cutter or an X-Acto knife or some sort of craft knife. So I am going to measure out the square that I want to use. So for this project, we're going to be using 3 by 3 inch squares. So if you line your ruler up with the edge of the paper and make a mark at 3 inches, slide it down just a little bit and make another mark. This ensures that your line is parallel to the edge of the paper, because we're going to need these to be good right angles. So I'm going to line the ruler up with those 2 marks very carefully, and then make a line. So now I'm gonna rotate my paper and do the same thing on this edge. Gonna line the edge of the ruler up, make a mark at 3 inches, slide it down, and do the same thing again. So now I've got 2 of my lines. So now I'm going to measure from the line that I made for my 3 inch opening. So measure 3 inches, make a mark, do it one more time, and then connect those marks. Line it up with the other line that you made. Make a mark at 3 inches. Move it down, do the same thing, and connect those marks. So now we have our 3 inch by 3 inch square. So at this point, we are going to use a metal ruler and a box cutter, or I'm using a box cutter, to cut out that square. If you've never done this before, I want you to grab some scrap paper, and we're gonna just practice cutting along the edge of a metal ruler. Using a box cutter or an X-Acto knife and cutting along the edge of a metal ruler may seem simple, but it does take a little bit of practice. Sometimes the paper likes to slip or your ruler likes to slip, and if it slips the wrong way, you could cut yourself. And other than that, you could also cut your lines on your paper in places that you don't want them. So, things to be mindful of. When you're practicing, you may want to just draw a straight line and then see if you can cut along that straight line. So I'm going to line my ruler up on that straight line. And when you are holding your ruler, you need to put a lot of pressure, push straight down on the ruler. Also, I didn't say this, but I'm using a cutting board, something that can get grooves and things cut into it so that I don't cut the table or cut anything else that I don't want marks in. So again, I'm going to put the metal ruler here and I'm going to push down on it. If you don't push on it, the pressure from the knife may make the ruler slide, and then all of a sudden you've got a cut that doesn't go the way you want it to go. So you push down on it. The second thing that you need to think about is make sure none of your fingers are hanging over the edge of the ruler or they will be cut. You need to make sure that nothing is past the edge of the ruler. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to push down really hard, and then I'm going to put my box cutter, I'm going to point it at an angle like this, and I'm going to press down and a little bit towards the ruler at the same time that I cut it. I'm not worried about cutting all the way through on the first pass. I can always just go back up and cut again. When I flip it over, if you can see that line, that cut all the way through, that was fine. So before you cut out your square, you may want to draw a few lines on a scrap piece of paper that's the same thickness as the paper you're going to be using for your viewfinder, and just practice making a few cuts. So I'm pushing down at an angle, and I'm pushing really hard on the ruler to keep it from sliding around. Once you feel like you've got enough practice, you can come back and get your square. You set it down. So I'm gonna put the ruler on the part that I don't want to be cut. So like if this were to slide, it might slide, sorry, I want it to go the other way. If this would slide, I don't want it to slide this way. So I'm gonna put my ruler here. It's okay, I'm cutting this out, so it's okay if the ruler accidentally goes there because I don't need this paper anyway. So I'm gonna put the ruler right up to the left of this. Now, if you are right-handed, this works. If you're left-handed, you're gonna wanna put the ruler on this side, use your left hand to cut, and push down with your right hand. Okay, so for all the right-handed people, I'm gonna put this right here. Make sure it's lined up. I'm gonna press down on it really hard. And when I'm cutting, I'm gonna put the ruler a little bit above the box. And after I cut through, I'm gonna stop just a little bit past the box. So I need to do that 1 or 2 times to get all the way through. Oh, and I had a sticker on the back, but it cut through that too. Then I'm going to rotate it and do the same thing to this side. I'm pushing down. I think that one went all the way through on the second time. It did. And then your box should come right out. So now I've got my viewfinder. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do is play around with media. So you're really just having fun making different types of marks and using different media. So the 4 different media that we're gonna use for this project are graphite, charcoal, pen, and ink wash. So we're gonna start with graphite. What I've got are 4 different shading pencils. I've got an HB, a 2B, a 4B, and a 6B, and I've got a blending stump. And I've got 2 pieces of just regular paper, 9x12, and regular drawing paper. and I'm going to draw and make some different marks with the different pencils, just having fun. So I'm just going to start with a 6B. I'm going to use the side of the pencil. Ooh, that's fun. You can try using the tip of the pencil. You can make curvy lines, straight lines. You can make short lines, long lines. You can do some blending. I don't want you to actually draw anything recognizable. I just want you to play around with the different marks that you can make using the pencils and the blending stump. So after you've had some time to create 2 different papers that just use a ton of different marks using graphite, and they may look similar to mine, they may look completely different. There are tons and tons of different marks that you can make. And each person, it's almost like their mark making is like a form of handwriting. So we all make different marks. Even though it doesn't actually show anything, we all just have natural styles and natural marks that we make, and directions and ways that we apply pencil to paper. So don't judge your mark making, just try to make a lot of different marks using the different pencils and a lot of different just ways that you're using the pencil, holding the pencil, applying it, moving your arm around. That's what you're going for. You're not worried about what it looks like. So later we're going to use our viewfinders to look to see which parts of what we did we like the best. We're not going to worry about that right now. So we're going to set these 2 papers aside, and then we're going to go and we're going to do the same thing with charcoal. So for your charcoal pages, I have 2 pieces of paper again. I have a couple of different charcoal pencils. I have some vine charcoal. Vine charcoal tends to make like a lighter gray, but if you press on it, you can make some darker grays. But then I've got some compressed charcoal that makes some richer blacks in comparison to the vine charcoal. I've got a blending stump that we use for the charcoal pencils. I try to keep them separate from the graphite blending stumps. I've got a chamois cloth, which you can use to just kind of wipe the medium all over everywhere. It's not really used for blending because it pulls up a lot of the media, like you can see me pulling up some of it. It just kind of smears it around and makes it a little bit smoother, and you kind of have like a little ghost of a line over there. And I've got a kneaded eraser. So you can also use some of the regular pink pearl erasers that we have too. This, you can make it into different shapes. You can push media around. You can erase a little bit. It will not erase it all. It just kind of, it just makes almost a different mark. So when you're using an eraser to almost draw into your charcoal, that's called subtractive. So if I grab like a pink pearl eraser over here, you can almost just draw into it with your eraser. So you can practice making marks that way too. So you're going to do the same thing with these 2 papers that you did with the graphite. You're just going to practice making different marks. Nothing that's really recognizable. And just cover these 2 papers with different types of marks, playing around with the media. So here are the two charcoal papers that I ended up with. I tried consciously to make two different sets of types of mark making, two different styles. So I was trying to keep this one a little more tonal and a little softer with a few lines. And then this one, actually, even though these are completely abstract, it's just mark making, sometimes it does help me to kind of think through things. Like I'll be making marks completely randomly, but as I'm doing it, I might be thinking of something. Like when I was making some of these marks, I was sort of thinking about a tree, and I was maybe thinking about buildings in the background, even though I wasn't worried about drawing it exactly, but that was kind of giving my hands a direction on which to move while I thought about it. I was sort of thinking about the sky and clouds and stuff up here. I wasn't trying to draw that, but that inspiration helped me kind of feel more like I could make decisions on what types of marks that I wanted to make, rather than just feeling stuck like, I don't know what to do, I'm just gonna make marks. So maybe sometimes thinking about something can just inspire your hand to move a certain way. So that might be something to think about if you're stuck. All right, so now we're gonna put these papers away, and we are going to use pen and ink, or just pen and ink, yeah, which is a little bit different because we're gonna use ink wash later. So really we're just using the pen. So that's going to be very linear, as opposed to some of the tonal values and marks that you were able to get with the charcoal. So it's going to be a little bit different.